Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Justin Chen. I'm the founder of the Boston University Machine Intelligence Community, CEO, founder, and director of Machine Intelligence Community, Inc., along with my board of directors, Ajay Jain, Jacqueline Zhu, and Professor Kate Sanko. I think they're still sleeping. But anyways, welcome to our inaugural Machine Intelligence Conference, also abbreviated MIC, optimistically to enhance our brand's value, and unpragmatically to confuse people in conversation. The thesis of our conference originally stemmed from the idea of demonstrating the value that could be achieved when students who are passionate about machine intelligence unite as a larger, more inclusive, and cognitively diverse community. Our conference serves as an even greater surface area for intellectual engagement for students outside the classroom and beyond boundaries of individual institutions. It is our mission and hope that the Machine Intelligence Conference will empower students to take agency over the trajectory of their education, promote diversity that will fundamentally change the paradigm of our field, and catalyze connections to accelerate progress in research and engineering to burgeon great ideas as a single machine intelligence community. Throughout the day, there will be technical talks by invited students here in the multipurpose room across the hall in Silverman Skyline. There will also be a series of technical talks by invited industry researchers and engineers in the lecture hall. I'd like to thank Malang, Intel AI, NVIDIA, Facebook, Charles River Analytics, Amazon, and Red Hat for their generous support. I would also like to highlight our conference code of conduct, which you can find on our website, that we expect all people here to adhere to. And you can find that at the bottom of the conference webpage. And so we have two opening keynote speakers, one industry and one researcher. Our first is Matt Scott. He's the founder and CTO of Malang Technologies, which leads computer vision technologies for the retail and medical industries. He has more than 15 years of R&D experience in computer vision and machine learning. He's a senior member of the IEEE and published over 70 patents and over a dozen research papers in top scientific conferences and journals, and featured articles in proceedings for IEEE. At CVPR in 2017, Matt and his team won first place in the Web Vision Challenge, a worldwide computer vision contest by Google. But the most important of all his admirable accolades is that, like myself, Matt is a BU Terrier. I think that's probably a highlight right there. And our research opening keynote is Leslie Kilbling. And so she is a professor of the practice at MIT, where she indoctrinates young and malleable minds with the universal truths of machine learning in course 6036. Leslie's agenda is to make intelligent robots using methods including estimation, learning, planning, and reasoning, and to keep Elon Musk up at night. She was the founding editor-in-chief of the Journal of Machine Learning Research. According to Google Scholar, she has been cited over 24,000 times. So please join me in warmly welcoming both our speakers.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. As he mentioned, I am originally from BU, and I've actually traveled the whole world in my journey in computer vision, coming from Boston to Seattle, where I was working for Microsoft, and then to China, where I started a company in computer vision and AI. And in this talk, I'm going to walk you through some of the industry situations going on and share some of my insights in the industry and tell you a bit about my story and the journey through reaching this stage, and also give a bit of concern for where we are now and ideas for the future. So at the time, I graduated BU in 2004. I made my way over to Redmond, where I was working for Microsoft, and in 2006, I decided to follow my passion and dreams in computer vision to go to Microsoft Research Asia in Beijing. And the reason I did that is because MSRA it has tons of luminaries in the field of computer vision, and many people who are working in deep learning now know that many of the great works in our field have actually come out of the lab in MSRA, like ResNet and faster RCNet and things like that. But being so far away from home, I'm originally from New York, in such an unfamiliar environment, might have been too high a cultural hurdle to overcome. But what made it not just manageable, but really fun, was working together with some of the best in the world on problems we really cared about. And in the process, we saw each other less as from Beijing, Germany, UK, or New York, and more as fellow scientists and engineers who were just great to work with. And we became lifelong friends, and that became a useful thing because when you're starting a company, it's great to have really good friends. And so what I thought would just be a 2-year assignment turned into 10 years at Microsoft. And I'm foreshadowing a bit, but this is a hallmark of the artificial intelligence research community. We're from all around the world, and we keep in touch as colleagues, competitors, and friends, and we collaborate and challenge each other in terms of our work. And when I was at Microsoft, it was an amazing time to be in AI, and in Beijing working on AI. 2012, I think, as we all know, was a really important year in the field as we transitioned from more of traditional computer vision to deep learning techniques. And 2012, we saw a bunch of sort of events coalescing. Geoffrey Hinton, a Brit working in Canada, had collaborated with Microsoft researchers from China to put forward new ideas around machine learning-based deep neural nets. Andrew Ng from Singapore, the UK, and Hong Kong, while working at Google, adapted that research and technology to teach computers to recognize cats. And in late 2012, the founder of Microsoft Research, my former boss, Rick Rashid from Iowa, worked with teams in Beijing and Redmond representing China, the US, UK, and Germany to demo the first speech-to-speech real-time translation technology in Tianjin. And actually, I gave the speech right before this talk, and Rick Rashid, when he was presenting the first example of deep learning speech-to-speech translation, he was speaking in English, and it was coming out in Chinese. The audience just couldn't believe it. It wasn't just about, clapping. Actually, the audience was crying at the time. That it was so remarkable that this was occurring that it really just shocked the world. And after this, I think you can see this is actually from a newspaper. This was actually, after this happened, it was the front page of the New York Times, something like AI is here. And so in 2014, I decided finally to go out and make a startup in AI in China. And I did it before AI was really in vogue. I remember pitching investors and telling them about AI, and they're saying, what are you talking about? What is AI? What's that all about? And now it's everywhere. So you can see here in 2014, myself and my co-founder, Ding Long, and a few of our other colleagues, we entered this field and started to get a bit of traction. We focus our company on computer vision for retail and medical image analysis, primarily retail. And we were able to get really big clients and win big competitions and attract pretty good funding and make our way through and keep on growing. And now we're over 150 people. And it's just been a really exciting experience to do, especially to do it in China. I'd like to just highlight a few key points when you're thinking about the industry for AI. Now, when you're thinking about joining a company or evaluating a company in AI, you're going to want to think probably around at least four major points. And these points I can reference to our company, but you can think of it more as a general approach to analyze. Data. We all talk about data for AI. It's really important. You're going to want to take a bit of a concern on that, how the data is collected and what kind of unique sources you've got, but also the algorithms related to data. And this is something I will talk about later today in the technical talk phase. It's about maybe a different approach to data, not necessarily needing to approach it as in a supervised learning problem where you have to collect data in such a perfectly curated way. What if you can deal with data in a more natural way, raw way? And I'll explain more about that later. Algorithms, what kind of specialty and uniqueness you have in algorithms. For our company, our uniqueness is in product recognition. So you hear about AI for face recognition. We focus on AI for product recognition. And to that end, we are enabling these smart retail product detection, product quality analysis that is actually powered by these algorithms. And in terms of business, what's the unique business angle that companies have? For ours, it's that we've got a really nice base of R&D in China, and we have a worldwide business, and we're able to leverage these two worlds. And so oftentimes, and I'll talk about it a bit later, but we see China and the US, it seems in the media, at odds with one another. But actually, if we can actually open up and work well together, we can unlock a lot of value. And our company is, again, a Chinese company, but we have a very good connection to the Western world. We have investors such as Accenture. We're actually the first Chinese company they've ever invested in, and really helps us access the enterprise market, Fortune 500 companies, to help them with AI. And Microsoft as well is another partner. And of course, you want to join companies with strong talents. And when you're thinking about talent, you want to also think about how the angle is in the company. Is it going to be too much focus on the research, too much focus on the product and commercialization? Actually, both of those are not very good if you're running a company. You want to have a balance between them. If you're too focused on just commercialization and too far away from the scientific community, you may be running the risk of going out of date with your tech. In AI, typically, if you're using technology over a year old, you're already out of date. So we found that companies that are able to bridge between the commercial world and the research world effectively will keep you on the cutting edge and effective in the market. But it's hard to do. So I mentioned award-winning AI because I want to emphasize that even as a Chinese company, we're still able to get world-class level recognition. And so, for example, in the enterprise world, it's very important to be recognized by Gartner. And so Gartner just had a report, AI and computer vision. They selected 5 companies from around the world, and we were one of them, the only one from China. The World Economic Forum, it's also 61 technology pioneers. We're the only one from China. Forbes, Microsoft, Google, CVPR. There's a lot of awards that we pursue because we also want to demonstrate that we're on the world-class level. And that's something you may notice in the industry, is that if you're going to focus on just the technology, you still need to wrap it in a brand. And so this is just some example of what we've done, but this is also a reference for others, that when you're working on the technology, you need to establish your trust and credibility and reputation with your potential customers, and awards and contributions to the scientific community is one way to go about that. So just to introduce my story here with my co-founder, his name is Ding Long, and so our company name is Ma Long, so I'm the Ma, he's the Long. And again, this really demonstrates the balance between the US and China. He's a Chinese person, I'm an American. He went to all the top companies like Google and Microsoft, and top Chinese companies like Tencent. And we met together at Microsoft and worked on projects together. And that's an insight as well if you're thinking about an AI startup. In terms of co-founders, you want to have a very good working relationship. You want to be friends, but also effective partners. And so we already established our partnership in Microsoft, working on products. I was in the research department, he is in the product team, and we're able to transfer technology from research to product to make something onto the market really special. And that's pretty much what we do today. And so my advice is, if you're thinking about starting a company, is to find a co-founder similar to that, like just someone you can work with and balance your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. And my other key member of the team is Dr. Weilin Huang, who's our chief scientist from Oxford University, VGG. And we have a global footprint. So we're based in China, in Shenzhen, but we have customers all around the world. And so I'm often flying around and meeting our customers, and that's just the new world we live in. And it is a small world. So you can put your base of operations anywhere, but you're going to want to consider to have a global audience for your technologies. And just to give you some insights into the retail and medical image analysis industry areas of interest and things that are hot. I'll show you a few demos of things that we do, but again, are representative of the industry. So first is unmanned shopping. So in the US, we have Amazon Go. In China, we have some similar things, but some of the things we work on is to take the Amazon Go concept of unmanned shopping and basically put it and shrink it into a box. And so these are refrigerated units, and they combine together and can form larger shelves. And we can see we have actually a collaboration with Haier. Haier is a major manufacturer of refrigerators in China. And so we're building these AI refrigerators. And these will show up in enterprises and large organizations for people to access and shop in a very convenient way. And so in China, we have WeChat, Weixin, which is it's a program like you have Facebook here, but it's really integrated well in payment and payment systems. And so what you do, the scenario is you just walk up to this machine and there's a QR code. You scan the QR code and the door pops open and you're free to shop. Look at the products, compare the calorie counts, feel this is warm or cold or however you'd like to shop. As soon as you close the door, you're charged. So open to start, close to finish, very intuitive. And this is a really hot concept going on in China, and we're happy to be one of the leaders. And I'll show you some of the technology behind it. This is actually activity recognition running on a very inexpensive web camera. And it's actually real-time tracking the hand and the products and actually classifying them on the fly with extremely high accuracy. And so this is just one of the technologies behind this work. And so I think in retail, some of the insights to share in the industry is retail is all about thin margins. So the task here is to make something that works, but also really inexpensive. And so that's something we work on. Another area for product recognition we work on is garment measurement. It may be surprising that this is an area of interest, but it is. It's actually a billion-dollar industry in Japan. We partner, so one of our investors is SoftBank, and so we partner with a client of SoftBank in Japan to solve this problem. So normally you have a large effort to measure garments before you put them online. You have to measure every aspect of them, and we can now just take a photo and do it automatically, and I'll show you what that looks like. Maybe we can, yeah. Yeah, so simply you can use your regular old phone, you put down the clothing on a special mat, and we can instantly measure every aspect of it to millimeter level accuracy. All the various measurements, and it's very efficient. And I'll show you some of the numbers. So we can actually go from, just to show you some of the efficiency and values of AI in industry, when I say efficiency, I typically mean cost and speed. So the cost here, we actually have a reduction of cost around 75% savings. And in speed, we have about 300% or 3 times faster than the current process. So that's a good use case for AI. And it's just some of the exciting work, just to give some inspiration. It's, and some of those people in the field here know about generative networks. This is actually a field that's becoming much more mature now, and something you're going to see online very soon. It's actually generating fashion models to put online. So if you're running a e-commerce shop in China, it's a very popular scenario. It's very expensive to hire people to wear your clothes and bring them to a studio and take photos. What if you can just take a single item of clothing and combine it with just a single model and generate the fashion picture and generate it nearly instantly and in many different combinations. So, but I want to really surprise you here, because you may have seen this virtual try-on stuff before. If you were using like Xbox Connect, you can kind of copy-paste things on top of yourself. This is way better. This is actually the model generating, almost hallucinating what the final output should be. Let's look on the top left. That's the original image for the human model, and then you've got the garment. Now, notice something about the human model here. You see that the arms are covered, the neck is covered. Yet the model, the AI model can actually hallucinate and imagine what the arms look like, what the neck looks like. And not just paste the clothes on the body, but even conform to the body and even generate wrinkles where they should probably be. And so this is a really exciting technology for retailers, but also for consumers. Imagine being able to shop online and just see yourself wearing all the clothes, right? You're just scrolling down the page and you're like, that's me wearing those clothes pretty accurately. So that's an experience that's going to be coming soon to a computer near you. And so another area of our work, it's an emerging area, it's actually medical image analysis. And there's a reason why we work on this. It's because of our algorithms that I'll discuss a bit later, which give us an advantage in this field. So in medical image analysis, one of the areas of interest for us is stroke, ischemic stroke. And so the idea is to analyze CTs or MRIs and to automatically segment in 3D the lesion. And the reason why that's important, and this is a good AI use case, is because speed matters. Again, when I talk about the industry and AI, you want to talk about efficiency. And so the speed. Every minute, 1.9 million brain cells die in an ischemic stroke situation. And so if we can go just a little bit faster, we can actually greatly improve the patient outcome. And so this technology is essentially just identifying a ischemic stroke in 3D space and helping the doctor in their analysis. So you can imagine when a patient comes into the ER and they have a CT done, a report can be generated and given to the doctor, and they can just simply confirm, and it'll save tremendous amounts of time. Okay, and so just briefly, some of the science behind the technology, and I'll talk more about that in a later session, but I want to talk briefly about CurriculumNet. CurriculumNet is one of our major efforts, and it's to address a big problem in deep learning. In deep learning, the issue is that today, pretty much everyone uses supervised learning. And to use supervised learning effectively, you need to essentially have an image net for your problem. If you're working in retail, you're going to want an image net for retail, which is a large, beautifully curated data set. But it's too expensive and time-consuming to produce these data sets. So we realized this pretty early on, that supervised learning is not going to work in the practical world for our enterprise customers. So we invested in weekly supervised learning. Weekly supervised learning is when you don't need to have the labels accurately labeled all the time, annotated. You can also bias towards one category or the other, and the model will still learn effectively. And so I'll talk more about how we've approached this, but we published this paper just recently in ECCV in Germany just about 2 months ago. And we've also published some of our code online and our models too, because we really care about this in terms of the industry, because we don't want to enter another AI winter, because I have some concern, and I'll talk more about concerns later, but there's a concern that if we're not using more effective approaches to training our models, if we're too dependent on beautifully curated data sets, it's actually just not going to work very practically in a commercial sense. So we hope people can start using weekly supervised learning more. In terms of product recognition, we don't want to just use a off-the-shelf detector, because when you're trying to recognize products, the attention is very important. So in deep learning, attention networks, discovering the salient regions of the images are very, very crucial to actually solving the problems effectively. And we also do a lot of work in image retrieval. And so we just also published at ECCV a new method in deep metric learning called hierarchical triplet loss. And you can check out our paper online. But the idea is that we have a more effective way to actually do a cross-domain image search. So if you're thinking about image search and lookup, oftentimes people just work in one domain, like professional image to professional image, or real-world image to real-world image. But what if you want to cross that divide, cross-domain, and how do you do that effectively? And there's a lot of technology behind the scenes to make that work. But I also want to emphasize this in terms of the industry, because it's all about benchmarks. In AI, if our company is constantly entering competitions and participating in benchmarks in the literature, because We want to see where we are and to deflate the hype. And we're happy to say, though, that with our new method of image retrieval, we do have some of the state-of-the-art results in the field. Okay, so all of that aside, I just want to be a bit lightweight here now and show you this tweet. This tweet actually came from a reporter going to one of the AI conferences, the World Summit AI, and made a bit of commentary on some of the hype. And so the hype is actually, it's funny, but it's actually kind of becoming a serious problem. And so I want to talk about these two concerns. The first concern is the hype. And I'll talk about my other concern in just a bit. So I'm sure if you guys study the history of AI, you'll pretty quickly figure out that there were these AI winters. And so AI today is actually in danger of becoming another victim to hype once again. You know, as I flew in and fly out, all the airports I go to, I see giant billboards basically everywhere, AI this and AI that, and it's starting to get a little bit, you know, hypey, if you can say. And so in decades past, AI has gone through these ups and downs, and the winters were typically caused by a gap between the perception and reality of what technology can really do. And so I think that the global AI community is really, it should be trying to stay grounded to avoid another winter. And so, as with any scientific endeavor, the key is to focus on data, standards, metrics, testing, peer reviews, basically relying on good old-fashioned scientific method and process. So if you claim in advance, you better be able to back it up and hopefully release some of your models and code as well. So my second concern has to do with a question I get quite a bit from people, and it's because I'm an American doing an AI startup in China, I get this question about who do you think will win? And so what they're asking about is the idea of an AI arms race, especially the kind that pits one nation against another. Honestly, I hate the idea. In fact, earlier this year, as part of our joining of the World Economic Forum, we had the chance to comment on that in writing for its online publication agenda. So the premise behind the question is actually straightforward. Many people believe that China will soon challenge the current leader, the United States, and an arms race is imminent, or so the thinking goes. And the smart move is for each national government to fund its own AI program to make sure its citizens don't miss out. So we recognize that we might be shouting out into the wind a little bit here, but we want to challenge part of that thinking and suggest a way to look beyond competition amongst nation states. If you remember my foreshadowing at the beginning of the talk, let me say again, the AI community is global. And we do our best when we work together across boundaries. And it's been like that for a long time. So if anyone tried to wall themselves off from the rest of the AI community, keeping their work to themselves, their own work would slow down, wither and likely die. There's a mutual interdependence based on transparency in pursuit of the best ideas for the field and ultimately for humanity. And this is what drives progress more than any competition between nation states. And I would like to argue that the most promising near-term AI applications are those that are supported by globally relevant data and will help people wherever they happen to live. I mean, take medical, for example. Everyone looks the same on the inside, and if everyone can benefit from AI-enabled solutions that lead to faster, more accurate diagnosis and more effective treatment, that's going to be a good thing. Or take manufacturing and agriculture. AI-driven improvements and efficiencies will bring benefits where factories and farms are. And so we're not arguing for nations to abandon homegrown efforts to support AI research, investment in entrepreneurship. That's actually a really good thing. We expect great people, ideas, and companies to continue to show up all over the world with all the attendant benefits in terms of job creation and economic growth. There needs to indeed be this amazing collaboration between countries, and it's really an international phenomenon. And the problems come, though, when we limit ourselves to this nation-to-nation competition. It's not a zero-sum game. It bogs down our progress. There can't be a Chinese AI versus American AI versus French AI, and so on. Let the companies do the competing. And so that's my perspective on that, and I hope you all take away that idea. So I just want to say thank you very much, and especially getting the chance to meet you all and share ideas with you is incredibly exciting for me. And I'll be outside, and you can talk to me afterwards in other sessions. And I just want to say that you guys are all clearly part of something special. You're part of the future, and I'm really hopeful, and I want to encourage you to keep going. And the community and opportunities in AI is actually wide open. And so with that, I want to say thank you very much, everyone.